Welcome everyone to MailFuzz TV. I am Peter, and today I'm going to be talking about the Twilight Zone Season 5, Episode 10. It's called The Seventh is Made Up of Phantoms. So, spoilers for the episode as always. This is another kind of time periods merging episode. Although, admittedly, it does handle it in a different way than I think what we've seen before. Typically, the character, or in this case, characters from the present day, would just walk into the past. And that technically happens here, but it doesn't happen kind of just at the start of the episode and then that's them in the past for the rest of the episode until maybe the end. Instead, it does this thing where it's almost like they bleed into the past a little bit, but they're still in present day and they still interact with other characters in present day, and then sort of go fully into the past by the end of the episode for kind of a better ending. So I should point out to begin with that this is all based around some history that I have no knowledge of, basically. I've heard the name Custer at some point in my life, but I I couldn't really tell you much about it. What I gather from this episode is that there was a big battle with Native Americans and Custer and his platoon were killed. Whether or not Custer is seen as a hero in American history, or this is more of a, like, people are picking sides, I'm not sure. It was hard to tell from this episode. But I think this episode is a little frustrating to me, because I think how it handles its timey-wimey stuff is actually very intriguing. The episode opens with soldiers from the past coming across a TP, and this was something that happened the day before this big battle in actual history. At least going by this episode anyway. I mean, I don't know for sure how accurate that is. But as far as the episode tells me, that's what happened. And when they, I think, fire a gunshot, it cuts to our three main characters who are in the present day stuff in 1964, and they hear this gunshot, and they're sitting at a tank. They're part of a battalion that are doing, I think they're part of the National Guard, and they're doing maneuvers, I think was the word. Like they're doing sort of just test runs and things like that. So they've got a tank, and immediately I thought, are they going to get involved with this tank? Because that would certainly change history a little bit, given, you know, a tank versus the technology of 1880 something, whatever year it was. What frustrated me about the episode is that as it went along, I never really understood why the three characters, or particularly the main of the three characters, Connors, I believe, was the leader of the trio. He was very determined to, like, once he well, first of all, he believed that they were interacting with the past very quickly in a way that felt very committed, that felt like a bit of a leap to me. But once we even get to that point, about halfway through the episode, he's adamant he wants to go find the battle. He wants to go find this last stand that Custer had. He wants to go and get involved with it. And I don't think I really ever understood or felt like they justified why he felt so strongly that he wanted to get involved in it. So when it gets to the end of the episode, which is they find the battle, and all three of them pull out their guns, and they're like, okay, let's do it, guys. And they all go in believing they want to be a part of it. And the big sort of Twilight Zone ending is that their captain, who's been grilling them all episode about going missing for too long and about believing in silly nonsense, they're at the monument site and like all of the graves of like the people who died in this battle, and they find the three names of their men who are now missing in present day on this plaque. They're in the list of people who died. The idea being that they went back in time and died in the battle, which is a fun Twilight Zone ending. It's a fun time travel story ending, that the people who went missing, there's proof in present day that they went back and died in the past. That's a fun, straightforward enough. As far as time travel goes, it's a straightforward idea of an ending to a time travel story. But it never really justified for me why, particularly Connors, was so keen in finding the battle. And even once there was real threat, where the younger of the three gets shot in the back by an arrow, because one of my other complaints actually was that up until just before the ending, like it's only a couple of minutes before they go into this battle, there's no actual threat to them the whole episode, other than the fact that they're going to get into trouble from their captain for dilly-dallying, for not being back on time, for going off and investigating stuff when they're supposed to be back at camp already. Other than that, there's not really any stakes or threat to what they're doing. So I do think that the idea of them physically being threatened by something from the past probably should have been earlier in the episode. Probably just before the ad break, to really have that be the cliffhanger that, hey, they can get hurt. This stuff that they're interacting with isn't just like ghosts that are walking around. I mean, the episode's called well, the longer title, but the word that's used in the title is phantoms. That would imply just, ghosts walking around and they aren't really going to physically interact with you. So I think establishing earlier that there's a physical chance they could get hurt, that could be good for the story. I feel like at the end, like, they're all willing to go into this battle, right? And yeah, they have more modern guns, but they don't have their tank with them. They left that behind ages ago. And at this point, they all want to get involved with it. Because one of the things I do actually really like about the episode is the chemistry of the three men. I think the trio of characters is quite good. You've got the leader, who kind of knows his history and very quickly believes in all this stuff. You've got the young guy who's kind of the rookie, who's a bit more naive, who goes along with what the leader's saying, but certainly is a bit more inexperienced and ready to jump at things. And then you've got the skeptic, the one who, it seems like he's more of I don't want to say a slacker, but certainly doesn't want to commit himself and just wants to get back on time so they don't get chewed out by their boss. I think the chemistry between these three is good. I like the actors. I think they all bounce off each other really well. It felt like a really natural kind of camaraderie and friendship, and the way they bicker a little bit or whatever. Like, I think all that stuff actually sounds really good in the episode. And at the end, or towards the end, when the young one gets shot in the back with an arrow and they're kind of carrying him, I thought they were carrying him back to safety. I thought they were walking him back to the tank so they can get back and get him medical attention. And instead, it turns out they were walking towards the battle the whole time, and they're like, okay, we're here. Let's do it. And like, even the injured guy pulls out a gun and is like, yeah, let's go. And I don't really understand why. I don't think I get the point the episode's trying to make with their motivation to actually be involved in this battle. Maybe this is an episode that is just not designed for someone like me who's not obsessed with history and doesn't want to be a part of history or something. I don't know. This feels like it's made for the people who do the reenactments of the Civil War and shit like that. It feels like something that they would relate to and that they would be wanting to get involved if they somehow traveled back in time. And I'm like, no, you're either you're going to die with everyone else like they were supposed to, or you're going to alter history so much that could be a very, very bad ripple effect into a very, very deformed version of the future, where now present day things are much worse because this series of events have led to a dictator in power or something like that. I don't know, like all these possibilities. So I kind of like the vibe of the episode. I like the vibe of like just kind of skirting into the past but still being connected to present day, to still having this link to present day. And I appreciated that when the physical threat actually manifested and someone actually got injured from one of these past characters, I liked that because I was a little bit worried it was going to just be, oh, well, they're kind of witnessing things from the past, but by the end of the episode, it really could have just been a shared hallucination. They could have all just been imagining it. They've not actually done anything of consequence. Instead, they went in the other direction, and it was of the utmost consequence. They all ended up dying in the past, and now there's evidence at the cemetery, the plaques on the tombstones and stuff that prove they were there, or at the very least suggest people with the exact same name. I just didn't feel like it justified why they had to get into the battle. Either you had to get them in there in a way that wasn't just their choice, or if it is going to be their choice, I feel like you had to really convince me of why they believe they should get involved. And it's not really like they ever bring up much about altering history per se. So there might be just something in this episode that's kind of lost on me, rather than it being a fault of the episode, but that fundamentally just kind of makes it hard to connect to this episode, despite the fact that I think it's kind of an intriguing way of doing this kind of story. And it's a kind of story that Twilight Zone has done multiple times, and I said that at the end of the last review when I was looking ahead at this one, but I do think it tackles it in an intriguing and different way. I just wish I cared and understood the character motivation a bit better for why they do want to go into this almost certain death. maybe it's hubris, but even if it's hubris and they think they're going to win and they're going to make the difference, and maybe that's what it's really about. It's the hubris of like one man, or in this case 3 men, thinking they're going to be the difference maker. But if that's the case, then the subject of them altering history never really is addressed. They never talk about like what will be better or different because they do this. That doesn't really happen. Instead, like the final moment of the episode is just this little poignant beat with the captain, who's been, angry at them all episode, particularly Connors, for making these decisions, for not showing up when he's supposed to, for telling this crazy story about thinking that he's seeing Native Americans running around. He has this little moment at the end when he sees the names on the wall, saying that they died in this battle, that it's a shame they never brought the tank. It probably would have helped. And then his lieutenant's like, "What was that, sir?" He's like, "Nah, nothing. I didn't say anything." And it's just this little moment where he, for a second, is pondering and believing what happened here is that they actually did go into the battle, kind of thing. Maybe it's trying to tap into this idea of like when you're part of the armed forces, you're kind of like connected to the entire history of the military of the country or something. That isn't really an idea that really sits with me all that well. It's just not something I can really buy into, I don't think, and in my own way that I see the world and see government bodies and militaries and things like that. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a very intriguing way of tackling the material and the concept. But I just wish I understood and could root for the characters better, or at the very least understand why they made the decision they did. But I don't think I ever really quite sat with me. And this could be very much a very specific case of this being designed for an American audience and it just not landing with me at all, because I just don't get it. I'm not convinced that I would like it even if I did get it more, but as it is, I'm still not entirely sure what the episode's really saying to me about these historical events. So I don't know. It's a tough one for me to kind of come down with a final opinion on. But needless to say, what I can say is that I'm kind of mixed and kind of frustrated by different ideas in the episode. Some of which I actually quite like. Some of the chemistry I quite like. I thought it was an intriguing, even though it's mostly just like desert and stuff and like fields. I think the location is interesting. Them going around with this tank and talking about the area and the they know where certain things are because of the historical battles that happened here. They know that this route was used by the enemy and this route was used by that and blah blah blah. All that's it paints a picture, which I think is interesting. So I don't know. I don't know how to feel. And I'm not someone who's ever really glorified this type of history in general. Like, I'm not someone who looks past at battles with a sense of like honor. Every battle that's ever happened is unfortunate. Every battle that's happened, it's a shame that it had to happen. Call me anti-war, but I think I'm okay with that. if you do. So let's look ahead to next episode, which is called "A Short Drink from a Certain." I'm going Sean Connery there. "A Short Drink from a Certain Fountain." Basically, the way Rod described this, it sounds like we're getting a Benjamin Button episode long before Benjamin Button was a thing. Well, actually, no, that's not entirely true, because the story that the Benjamin Button movie was based on was written already, I think. I think it was. I think that was a little way before this. Anyway, next up, the description reads, "An aging married man convinces his brother to inject him with a youth serum." Oh, okay. Very good. I mean, it sounds like an intriguing premise. We'll see how they handle it, and I think the first thought that comes to my mind with this one for next time is the old age makeup that I assume he has to begin with, and then they take it away as he gets younger. I'm assuming that's how they're going to do it. I don't know for sure. Maybe they're using different actors. I don't know, but we'll see next time. So let me know what you thought of of The Seventh is Full of Phantoms. I think that was the title. It's not on the page anymore. It was something like that. The Seventh is made up of phantoms. Let me know what you thought of that episode in the comments. Give me your feelings and all that. And you can, of course, support all the content over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and get some bonuses for your trouble. Help keep it all coming. And, of course, you can support me for free by simply hitting the like button. That helps out a bunch. More people find the channel and the videos. So thank you very much for joining. I always appreciate it. Keep watching TV in the Twilight Zone.